where you look at Fonterra, it's not at the point yet where it would tip over. But the point is, because of its size, if it did tip over, and this is the point that I've been making about foreign ownership, there's no one big enough in New Zealand unless we use the super fund or something like that, so it would need government intervention to do it. But look, we can't even afford to buy Tip Top. We can't afford to buy Silver Fern Farms. We can't afford to buy Westland. There's not the capital in New Zealand.
Sure, but isn't that, you mentioned Tip Top, isn't that the point? Yes, Fonterra recognises that it's got issues with capital, the amount of money it has to run its other parts of the business.
Yep.
And it's selling Tip Top. It's dealing with that. It's putting itself in a stronger position. It's got a plan in place to deal with that. So
the plan's not credible.
Why not?
And the fact that their share price is tanking suggests that the market thinks their plan's not credible. Selling assets, look, I don't have a problem with them selling assets. It's not a stamp collection where you have intrinsic value about things and you keep it because you like Rachel Hunter driving around in a Volkswagen. It's the important thing with the company is that they need to strengthen their balance sheet. For them to strengthen their balance sheet, asset sales will not do it alone. They need a recapitalisation. If they were a normal company, what they'd be doing now is putting out a whacking great big rights issue. Now, the equivalent for a co-op is a whacking great big retention. And that's what they need to do.
Because they're not a normal company, and you mentioned the share price, that isn't like, it's a slightly different share structure than a normal company for people.
It's a very different share structure.
Yeah, so it could theoretically go to zero. It's not like
I've said that, yes. They can absolutely go to zero. It's not a good thing, but and it would destroy an enormous amount of farmer value. Because remember...
Yeah, but it might go back up again once they've sorted things out, so they've got time to turn this around. It's not like they're facing the pressure necessarily of perhaps other companies because of that co-op structure.
Well, where the co-op structure protects them is from takeover. Before I came into this interview, I had a little check of Fonterra's balance sheet. They've got about $6.6 billion worth of equity. Now, their company valuation as of last night, was only 5.6. So if they were a normal company, they'd be taken over and broken up by now. So the fact they're a co-op and their ownership is not up for grabs at the moment, that does protect them, that gives them time. But what I'm not seeing from Fonterra is any sense of urgency about what they need to do. Look, a friend of mine summarised it yesterday really, really well. He said, look, if you are flying a plane and every light on the dashboard is glowing, you don't have to be Chuck Yeager to work out there's a problem. But hey, you probably need to be Chuck Yeager to get out of this, and we look at Fonterra and there's no Chuck Yeager.
But what you're prescribing is for farmers to take less money. You're saying that Fonterra needs to hold back some of the money that they give to farmers. They're sitting and not give them as much money. Now, the 11,000, 12,000 dairy farmers in Fonterra, they're not going to buy into that, are they? That's what Fonterra's set up for. Get the best price.
Here's a really simple thing, farmers, and John Moynihan, take this on board now. You either want to have your co-op or you don't want to have your co-op. Because if you want to have your co-op, you've got to buy it back. It's got too much debt, and the only way you can buy it back is by farmers buy it back. Because if you don't buy it back now, someone else will buy it back. You're going to go the same way as Murray Goulburn.